Hello everyone, hope all of you are doing good. So there have been a lot of queries regarding how political science and international relations can be applied across all sections of the GS, as well as how it can help in stimulating marks even in essay. Okay, so today I will show to you, okay, it's a very unique and special lecture because everyone tells you, right, that you should apply political science in GS and paper 2, there is a lot of application. But I will show to you via a clear manifestation, okay. I have attempted just an unknown test. I have not formulated the questions of this particular test, okay, and I have written it real time, so that you will be able to know that how political science knowledge, okay, can enhance the quality of your GS answer without studying anything more. Just by the application of pol science only, okay, your GS marks will enhance. But the art is on how to do it, all right? So we will show you clearly how this can be done. Okay, now why to show you? Why to show you? Because what does Amir Khan say, what does Kareena Kapoor tell Amir Khan? तुम डेमो बहुत अच्छा देते हो. तो जब तक आप लोगों को डेमो नहीं दिया जाता ना, आप लोग चीज़ों को ढंग से समझते नहीं हो, सुन लेते हो बात को. Okay? So till date, everyone has told you what to do. We'll tell you how to do it. Fine? That's why today's lecture is very, very special. So we will learn how to apply what PSIR in GS paper 2. Okay? I am not dealing in this particular section with international relations. Okay, I am dealing with the other portions, the polity, the constitution part, the governance part, the social sector part. All right? Now, so let's see. Now, what are the basics of good answers, and what are the key, pillars that you can use to make your GS answers very nice, very effective, okay? So I'll give you a checklist. Now, if you have, whenever you are studying something, use this checklist. That on this particular theme, do I have a key judgment? Can I link constitutional articles? If you use this checklist in your content making, or if you use this checklist, okay, when you are writing even questions, this will get imbibed within you after a period of time, if you remember. So automatically you will make that conscious effort, all right, of writing judgments, of writing case studies, of writing model practices, okay, examples, constitution articles, key scholars that you have studied here and there in the newspapers, right? So I'll just give you this checklist. Ensure you use it very aggressively, okay? If you want, you can write this checklist and put it on the board where you are studying with paper 2 syllabus. बस मतलब आपका content भी fulfilled तब है जब आपकी ये checklist is there in every theme's content, okay? Fine. So the first idea is key thinkers, ideas and doctrines. Now, what does this mean, key thinkers' ideas? So, for example, in political science and international relations, we have studied a lot of thinkers, okay? You can use these thinkers, their key quotations also, like Lord Acton's statement of power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, okay? You can use Plato's statements, you can use Aristotle's statement, okay? And how John Locke talks about limited government, right? How he talks of the doctrine of separation of power to ensure the limited government. Machiavelli, okay? So don't hesitate that we cannot use these statements. Obviously, across GS you can use them, but yes, does not mean you are writing it for 3 lines. Short, crisp description of the idea that you want to apply of political science in your GS answers, okay? But ensure that it doesn't become too elongated and too elaborate, ठीक है? एक fine touch देते हुए जाना है. ऐसे कहते हैं ना, just the touch, okay? Got it? Then key debates, okay? So for example, we have studied the debates in equality, we have studied debates in justice, in democracy, okay? Now, whatever debates we have studied, for example, a question, all right, a question will not come like that on democracy as an idea or a concept. But what are the challenges for India's democracy? Okay, what measures can be, if such kind of a question can come? Okay, such a broad question, right? Or party system linking with democracy. So whatever debates you have studied, whatever virtues of democracy you have studied, you can certainly apply it, all right? So that's how you apply the key debates without mentioning. So you can talk of how there should be equality of resources. You can talk of equality of capabilities, equality of welfare. Okay, so equality of what? If you start a question, okay, of social justice like this, it's all right. So the key debate today is equality of what? And these three set of equality. So examiners not necessary you have to write Ronald Dworkin or Jeremy Bentham or Amartya Sen. ठीक है, तीनों का नाम लिखना जरूरी नहीं है, आइडिया certainly हम लिख सकते हैं, okay? Then key judgments. So see, judgment is not only a factual detail. Judgment is about the spirit, okay? What has been the Supreme Court's perspective on that particular issue in that prevalent time, okay? So all the judgments you should have, and the judgment should not only be associated with constitutional basis, even on public issues, okay? There are a lot of PIL cases also that happen. Follow them, incorporate them in your answers, okay? Right? Even issues like obviously Aadhaar, transgender, Sabrimala, all this you will naturally use, but because they are very key judgments, but across anything that you come across, any debate and where you have read about judiciary's opinion, okay, that. Now, specifically UPSC is also asking the evolution, for example, environmental jurisprudence, okay. So you have to know how the judiciary has viewed this entire environment as an issue, okay. So in this context, key judgments become very important. Have a list. Okay, keep revising them every alternate day. In 15 days, it will all get internalized, okay? Next is the articles of the Constitution. This articles of the Constitution is very important. Verbatim याद नहीं करना है. कहने का मतलब है उस आर्टिकल की स्पिरिट क्या है, की वर्ड्स क्या है, वो कहना क्या चाहता है. अगर वो समझ लिया, तो फिर उसके बाद it will not, you're not necessarily remembering 4 provisions of the Bare Act. नहीं, ये ज़रूरत नहीं है. आर्टिकल 210 क्या कह रहा है, राइट? 231 क्या कह रहा है, 211 क्या कह रहा है, उसका स्पिरिट क्या है ना? तो उस आर्टिकल की स्पिरिट जानो, सो दैट यू कैन ईजीली अप्लाई. अब हम क्या है, हम उस आर्टिकल को रटने की कोशिश करते नहीं. वो आर्टिकल अगर फॉर एग्जाम्पल आर्टिकल 50 से सेपरेशन ऑफ द पावर्स, राइट, ऑफ जुडिशरी एंड एग्जीक्यूटिव बोल दिया, तो वो बस ये लिख दो, ठीक है. So in this way, right, we have to remember the articles of the Constitution. Then the facts on issues, criminalization of politics, right? What are the basis for regional parties? What are the RPA issues? Okay, you have to remember those articles as well, है ना? Then, for example, poverty and hunger has been asked continuously. Okay, social welfare has been asked. तो poverty और welfare के key data और statistics एकदम हैंडी रखना चाहिए. जैसे कोई प्रेस फ्रीडम इंडेक्स है, ओके, उस पे इंडिया का स्टेटस है आज के दिन, है ना? इस टाइप की जो वर्ल्ड हंगर रिपोर्ट है, तो आज के दिन ऐसी ऐसी बड़ी बड़ी चीज़ें यू वुड हैव स्टडीड फॉर प्रीलिम्स, जस्ट रिकॉल देम एंड एंश्योर दैट यू यूज देम मोर फ्रीक्वेंटली, ओके. नाउ दीज फैक्ट्स आर ऑल्सो very important for other schemes, because question doesn't come specific to one scheme in UPSC as such. But overall, how has been performance of schemes? Okay, in this facts are very important. Key opinions, what do you mean by key opinions? Key opinions, which means opinions of the present, intellectuals, right? So you can talk about what does Arun Maira say, okay, how he talks of planning. Then you can use Pratap Bhanu Mehta, you can use Yogendra Yadav. So these contemporary debates that are going on within the newspaper, you can certainly quote them, okay? And yes, even in international relations, you can quote, right? Case studies, very, very important. Paper 2, absolutely very important. You should have case studies on all good practices that are happening, okay? Even best models, model villages, Swachh Bharat mission, National Skill Development Mission, okay? रोड एंड ट्रांसपोर्टेशन की कोई अच्छी केस स्टडी है कहीं पे इंडिया में ही, हाउ वेल दे हैव कनेक्टेड, ओके. फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन की बहुत अच्छी एक केस स्टडी है, एसएचजी की कोई अच्छी केस स्टडी है. ये सब केस स्टडीज़ को इनकॉर्पोरेट करो अपने आंसर में. जस्ट मेक अ स्मॉल बॉक्स, राइट 3 पिलर्स ऑफ दैट केस स्टडी, अर्बन गवर्नेंस, ओके, पंचायती राज, some very good practices where case studies where there have been positive results because of some continuous efforts that have been made. Okay, you have to incorporate that. Then best practices and models across the world, like for example when we are talking of proportional representation, okay, and first past the post system. So we can have like Germany, you can suggest okay, there is a model where there is a mixed way of doing things, okay. So in this way, across the world, what are the best practices that have been followed? Okay, what are the models that have been followed? This can be emulated in India on to what extent you can write. Fine. Key statements of ministers, very important, okay. Why it is very important? Because it will add that real touch. It will add a very unique touch to your answer. Like Prime Minister Modi has said something, okay, S. Jaishankar has said something, all right. President has said something, even that can be used. All right, Environment Minister, Health Minister, Science and Technology Minister, okay, key statement they make at key conferences. Just have like a checklist of some 15-20 statements and keep applying it here and there. Key arguments are very important. So nowadays, there is a trend where students write a lot of examples without supplementing it with arguments. So it's wrong way. You have to have key arguments and the supplementation of that has to be done by examples and not vice versa. So our paper should not look like an example centric. Our paper should look like a thought process centric paper. Thought process centric, which means you know the key debates, what are the key issues, okay, that will arise, what are the arguments for this particular issue that we are discussing, what are the arguments against. This argumentation, articulation has to be very nice, okay. So have key arguments on, all the ideas that are there, fine. Then meaningful flowcharts, I'll show you how to make meaningful flowcharts and not copy flowcharts, but within the question, okay, understanding the inter-components of the question only, how we can make meaningful flow charts, okay. Iconic dialogues, so as in dialogues which are there across some movies. For example, you can use Sunny Deol's dialogue, Tariq Pe Tariq, okay, how he has spoken about this. And still today, right, how this justice delivery framework has been delayed in India. Or you can talk of Mere Desh Ki Dharti, Sona Ugle, Ugle Hire Moti. Okay, in Upar, it was spoken at that point of time, but is Indian agriculture the same today? So such kind of movie dialogues also can be used, okay? Progressive charts and performance analysis. Why progressive charts and performance analysis is important? So the government is going to complete 10 years, okay? And whatever schemes and flagship initiatives or key vision, mission, strategies, what they have applied, to what extent they have been successful will be a key theme in 2023 paper also, okay? And 2024 also. So in both these papers, this thing will be coming. So ensure that you do this, fine? Why? Because without having a performance analysis, you will not be able to show whether the results have been good. So pick up key parameters, what is the funding, to what extent center has funded, disbursed, utilized, to what extent state governments have funded this, what are the key obstacles, okay? Like this you have performance analysis of key schemes and strategies and missions, okay? तो स्वच्छ भारत अभियान पे क्या प्रोग्रेस है, स्मार्ट सिटीज मिशन पे क्या प्रोग्रेस है, नेशनल स्किल डेवलपमेंट मिशन पे क्या है, ओके? हेल्थ, Ayushman Bharat, right? Suggestions for improvement before the conclusion. It enhances your conclusion also. It shows that you are a very forward-looking and visionary person. And make sure that the suggestions that you are giving are very practical, not impractical solutions, okay? And you should be giving suggestions, even not only your own suggestions, But you can also give ARC recommendations, law commission's recommendation, other committees' suggestions, okay? Reforms that can be suggested in a particular issue. All right? So yes, these things are the checklist. Please keep the checklist handy in front of your eyes so that it gets imbibed within you, okay? Now, let's move to seeing how this application will be done real time. All right? So I am reading the question for you. Do you think the exercise of delegated legislation by the executive goes against the principle of separation of powers? Delegated legislation is violation of separation of powers. Discuss in the context of India. Now let's see this question. So question is, question 1, delegated legislation and to what extent it violates the separation of power in the Indian context. Now many students don't have understanding of these doctrines only, why they originated, what was the context. If you don't know the context of origin, ये हुआ ही क्यों, या doctrine of basic structure आई क्यों, okay? अब ये पता ही नहीं है तो उसकी application कभी भी ढंग से नहीं कर पाओगे, okay? So we know that the idea of separation of powers was in order to bring in what? Limited government. Who brought this? So John Locke, okay? Even Montesquieu and others have been, but we are applying it here in this context. Limited government, okay? Why he talks of this separation of power? So he says that, you know, there is inherent virtue that if a person or organ of the state, be it the legislature, okay, the executive or judiciary, anyone, if it becomes too much strong, it will be very problematic and it will not take time for this to become a tyranny, okay? So what we should do? We should, like we break atoms into multiple parts or any machine into multiple parts, we should break this also into multiple parts. Let them do their own thing and let them be separated, okay? If they are separated, then there is possibility that there will not be what? There will not be interference and no one organ will automatically acquire too much power, okay? So keeping this in mind, okay, the separation of power had been introduced, all right? But this doctrine as such is not like this in Indian context, okay? Here we don't have any particular exclusivity or watertight compartment. We have a lot of overlap that is happening between functions. Okay, so you have to understand this Indian context. So question शुरू कहाँ से होना चाहिए था? Many students would have started this question from explaining delegated legislation. नहीं, ये तो narrow component of the question है. The wider component of the question is what? Explaining this separation of power in the Indian context. What is the meaning of separation of power in the Indian context? Okay? तो पहली चीज़ आपको question में ये दिखानी चाहिए थी. To what extent it is not exclusive, even if there is separation to certain extent, but it is not an exclusive separation, and we always see that there is overlap of functions. There is overlap of functions. Then you explain what is this delegated legislation, okay? So who does delegated legislation? What kind of legislation is this? So general laws are done by the legislature, okay? But this is done by the executive. So civil servants, okay? So laws are made by, general laws are made by legislature, and the civil servants, obviously, which is also part of the administration, the executive, government of the day, what do? They make rules, they make buy orders, they make notifications, how to implement these laws, or what are the rule lists that will be for the implementation of laws. This is delegated legislation. It is also called as what? Subordinate legislation. So the second component of your question should be explaining delegated legislation, okay? And then you will be moving on to giving arguments of to what extent separation of power, delegated legislation violates separation of power and to what extent it doesn't. This is how a general GS answer would be. Imagine the same question is asked in political science. How will we bring out the political science dimension? So in this we will link. So both this are linked with which idea? Tell me. It is linked with the virtues of democracy. So we know that democracy is a very practicable form of government, okay? So in this context, see how I have applied the pol science knowledge, okay? So I have started the question with what is democracy? And democracy is a practicable form of government. It is based on ideas of deliberation, decentralization, devolution, and not concentration of power. Okay, separation of power is to bring out and root out the idea of concentration of power, okay? Right? So that there is no concentration of power in any organ of the government of the day. Then I spoke of how John Locke has said. So imagine if this question has been asked in GS, आप ये John Locke का idea detail में देने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. You want, you can give it a mention, or otherwise you can just explain separation of power in the Indian context, okay? Then how in Indian context there is no exclusivity, all right, or any different set. Then we explain what is delegated legislation, okay, and it is also subordinate legislation. And what is the need? Because these people, okay, the officials, the executive, right, they have expertise and specialized skill set in order to perform this. And with the changing times in the public administration, after 1990, specifically after globalization, this need has increased. Is it clear? So in this way, we talk about it, all right? Then we will be giving about arguments. Now arguments, one set of the arguments should be to what extent delegated legislation does not violate separation of power in Indian context. So yes, we have arguments like there is hazy borderline, okay? All these rules that are formulated, notifications, bylaws, this is acting ancillary to the general laws, all right? Then, so there is no real separation as such. So explicitly talk about Article 245, right? Then you can also quote a Supreme Court judgment of 1973, which says flexibility and adaptability. Clear? Then how this arguments DL violates separation of power. In this, see how I have spoken of it is evasion of deliberation that is done in the legislature. Then it can also lead to concentration of power, okay? So we give one judgment and one case study. So we give this Hamdard Dawakhana versus Union of India, and the other is the demonetization case, okay? Fine? And this is how, where we started, that India is a welfare state, right? We are a democracy also. And in this, the social and economic functions of the state have increased, all right? And that is why what happens? Delegated legislation occurs. Now, let's move to the next question, all right? Read very carefully. What is the next question saying? The recent draft National Data Governance Framework Policy aims to transform and modernize government data collection and management processes in India. Discuss. So, see, all the measures, the initiatives, amendments, drafts, they have a very larger objective. They have a very larger purpose. And within this larger strategy, all this is part of that ambit. Is it understood? तो ये जो नेशनल डाटा गवर्नेंस फ्रेमवर्क है, ये गवर्नमेंट की कौन सी ब्रॉड स्ट्रैटेजी का पार्ट है? इट इज पार्ट ऑफ व्हाट? डिजिटल इंडिया, So rather than beginning the question, okay, directly with what? National Data Governance Framework, first you should do what? You should link Digital India and how data-driven governance as a key component. That's why NDGF has been brought. So talk why the need. Because aim is given now, so we'll say there is need. Because until now there is inefficiency in management, collection, usage of data prior to formulation of other schemes and these things. Okay? So first you talk of what? Need for NDGFP. Then key objective and impact. Then what are the pillars of this NDGF? Now here see, question has asked, it aims to collect data, manage it very well. But rather than separating pillars and what impact it will create, link them. This shows more clarity. So see, I have linked these pillars and shown the impact within the answer. So examiner will know that I know the pillars well and I know what impact also these pillars will create. So club that. This shows more clarity. This is what you should have also done when you are reading provisions of any law. If you're reading provisions of a law, at that point of time, it should click to you कि इस provision का क्या impact है, इस provision का क्या impact है. हम क्या करते हैं, provision एक पढ़ लेते हैं head में, impact अलग head में, but we never link the provisions and the impact, and that's why even while writing, we write in silos. But if you integrate them, it shows what? More mental clarity. All right? So do it that way. Then you talk about the challenges of this particular NDGF. So I have talked about data-driven governance, how it is part of Digital India, and how data has become a critical resource in the present, and it is very important for economy, for decision-making, service delivery, and other things. Now I'll show you how to make innovative flowcharts, okay? So see, this question is National Data Governance Framework. So it is the conclusion where we have to reach. अब ये जो नेशनल डाटा गवर्नेंस फ्रेमवर्क इसका ब्रॉड फ्रेमवर्क क्या था? डिजिटल इंडिया. लेकिन डिजिटल इंडिया में ये वाला जो कंपोनेंट है ये डिफरेंट है. Why data is so important? Data is so important because data is the new oil. And linking this data, linking Digital India, we are delivering what? The governance and services to people on demand. And that's why we have brought in the National Data Governance Framework. So this is a very meaningful way, okay, of explaining inter-components within your question and showing it. Please copy this down so that you can use such kind of mental. और ये सब कब अच्छे से लिखा जाएगा? जब आपको डिजिटल इंडिया के 3 की पिलर्स पता है. अगर आपको पता ही नहीं है कि डिजिटल इंडिया के की पिलर्स क्या हैं, तो आप क्या लिखोगे? Okay? So here in this context, it was governance and services on demand. इसीलिए ये आया. Then we speak about NDGF need, pillars, how it has wide application, how there will be new rules and standards, and what will be their impact. Data privacy and data security, what is going to be the impact. Okay? So in every statement, there is the pillar and impact, okay? Then I have shown IDMO, institutional framework that has been designed, India Data Management Office, okay? So what is the function? So see how much the visibility is enhancing. I could have written this in point format, but drawing it like this, it makes my appearance more clear, okay? Then what are the challenges? You can draw it in the hub spoke, and how this will eventually be paving India as a good practice in the world, okay? Now let's move to the next question. So how we use political science in the third question. In the first question, we realized how we can use our pol science knowledge. Second question, how we can be innovative, how we can draw better flow charts, how grand strategy of the government can be used as the first introduction and then coming directly to the what has been asked, okay? Now, despite several social protection initiatives, universal social security in India seems like a far-fetched dream. Discuss. So this question is on universal social security, okay? And how it is a far-fetched dream. So are you going to talk about problems in every scheme or problem in the implementation of this broad idea? तो MG नरेगा, अंत्योदय अन्न योजना, ठीक है, ये सब स्कीम और उसका एनालिसिस नहीं चाहिए कि सोशल प्रोटेक्शन इनिशिएटिव्स के बारे में लिख रहे हो, नहीं. फर्स्टली, व्हाट इज द बेसिस ऑफ सोशल प्रोटेक्शन? विच काइंड ऑफ स्टेट्स गिव सोशल प्रोटेक्शन? वेलफेयर स्टेट. Welfare state, DPSP. This should have been the base from which you should have picked the introduction. That's how your pol science understanding will reflect in your GS answer. And कोई specialization नहीं करना है इसके लिए, सिर्फ सोचना है कि social security का component कहाँ से उठ के आता है. तो constitution में DPSP से, और welfare state कहाँ से? Welfare state also from, because India is a welfare state. So you should have started this question first with, we are a welfare state and how DPSP act as the constitutional directive in this regard, okay? Then you can talk about the problems that are there, how we witness, giving it a current touch, that in the COVID era, in the post-COVID era, we are seeing certain problems and challenges, okay? So you can talk about how there is, you know, food insecurity, poverty, unemployment, health infrastructure was a challenge in COVID. Now we come that how society is a collective whole, okay? And social security is key to a growing society. Who says? ILO. अब यहाँ पे ILO को कोड दिया तो आंसर को automatic validation भी मिल जाएगा. Then we will be talking of the challenges. Now students write challenges in what format? So one challenge, okay, schemes and how they are not implemented. Second challenge, people's behavioral problem. Third, state has lack of financial resource. Lack of financial resource है problem. सोच कर देखो 2 मिनट. इतने सालों से पैसा लगा रहे, तो पैसा is not a bigger problem. वो तो हम इतने सालों से कर रहे तो भी आउटकम नहीं आ रहा है, तो क्या ज़रूरी है कि आज और ज़्यादा पैसा लगा लेंगे तो आउटकम्स आ जाएंगे? हाँ? No. So you first prioritize your challenge. Financial challenge तो हमेशा रहेगा. Developed states को भी financial challenge है, universal social security अच्छे से cover करने में. तो हमारे जैसे states को नहीं रहेगा क्या? Right? So first you talk of this, give it a heading like this. There is a implementation challenge. Why implementation challenge? Because things are fractionalized across center, states, departments, ministries. How we can integrate them, right? ये चीज़. Second, infrastructure challenge. How there is different infrastructure. So reaching out only to the citizen becomes very difficult in certain parts of India. Some groups are so diverse, they don't accept all the benefits that are also there very well. Okay? So infrastructure challenge, last mile delivery is a challenge, right? So second challenge, you talk of infrastructure challenge. Third challenge, one size fits all approach will not happen. So rather than using approach is a challenge, how we approach, we cannot have one size fit all approach. So it is an approach challenge, okay? Because there is different demographic attributes. Financial challenge. Now here you write that yes, it is a challenge, but it is not one of the key challenges because public expenditure तो चल रहा है ना. तो यूनिवर्सल सोशल सिक्योरिटी का आइडिया सिर्फ पैसा पैसा डालने से नहीं हो जाएगा, किस तरीके से चीज़ों को सिंक्रोनाइज किया जाएगा. ठीक है? ओके? इस तरीके से चैलेंज लिखना है, ऐसे नहीं कि 2-3 पॉइंट्स 4 पॉइंट्स लिख के चैलेंज खत्म हो गया. स्ट्रक्चर योर चैलेंज, गिव आर्टिकुलेशन, ओके? देन gives reforms also, how it can be done, consolidation, right? How we can universalize high delivery schemes, worldwide best practices like Ireland model we can also adopt, decentralization, digitization, okay? Use such keywords in your answer, lot of keywords, all right? Now, so Atmanirbhar Bharat, we have to do strategic intervention to achieve this goal. So we've addressed the demand of the question. Now you understood how to link pol science basis even in such a general question. Okay? Now, let's move to the next question. Okay? So this question, I'll show you how iconic dialogues can be used, how we can make even most boring schemes very interesting, very, very lively, okay? So for example, the question is asking, online dispute resolution can be a game-changing transformation in the justice delivery framework of India. Discuss the challenge in its wide-scale adoption. So they are asking what? They are asking online dispute resolution, how it is a problem in the, it is a solution in the justice delivery framework, and what are the challenges also of this, right, for this purpose. So what is the key theme? You should have started with ODR benefits, or you should have started with justice delivery framework need. No. When we are saying this is a solution to this problem, first explain the gravity of the problem, na? Gravity of the problem. How we can explain this problem? So you can use 2 quotes, okay? I'll show you how. Who says movies cannot be utilized, okay? So we have one dialogue in the movie Damini by Sunny Deol. Tariq pe tariq. What does this show? Delay in the justice delivery framework, okay? Second, what does Shakespeare say in Hamlet? For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, okay? The oppressor's wrong, the law's delay. And how this iconic scream is Bollywood's counterpart to what? Shakespeare. अब ये explain करने की ज़रूरत नहीं. You can say this to show that the delivery of justice, the delay of justice delivery framework is a big problem and challenge, okay? And it shows the frustrations that have been articulated by both these people, all right? So timely delivery is the next frontier after what? Ease of doing business, right? And that's why we have ODR. So first explain what is the meaning of ODR, okay? Then you talk of benefits of ODR, because question is saying it will solve the problem. So you have to show how it will solve the problem. So you show the benefits. All right? So you are showing the benefits of ODR. All right? Then we talk of the problems. Now problems, how we address challenges, how we structure them. Similarly, problems also have to be structured, okay? Like structural problems, operational problems, behavioral problems, okay? You talk of all these problems in different sets, all right? And then you give suggestions on how ODR can be improved and implemented in a better format. So see, I have also given examples of best global models, UK, Australia, Canada. Fine? So in this way, where I started, problem of justice delivery, I ended also with that. So justice delayed is justice denied. ODR will solve that problem. Okay? Now, let's see the next question. Citizen charters only have a symbolic presence. Okay? They're saying citizen charters only have a symbolic presence and have not been successful in making a difference in altering the state of public administration and service delivery in India. So question is saying that citizen charters have symbolic presence and they have not been able to be very successful. So Pol Science, which knowledge or which thing we can link here? So how we have a social contract between the government and the citizens. Similarly, what do we have? We have citizen charter. And how this citizen charter is a statement, okay, in this regard. So we are talking of how there is social contract. Similarly, citizen charter is also a statement, right? Talking of duties and rights. And how with the changing time, the citizen charters have become very important. with the philosophy of new public management. Okay? Now we talk of key issues. So you can talk of the deficiencies, but how do we validate the deficiencies? So we talk of PAC. PAC, okay? PAC is pointing out toward these deficiencies. This enhances how we are representing the deficiencies, okay? Pictured how we can show an IIPA report talking of this citizen charter review. So Ministry of Home Affairs, Minority Affairs, Northeast, they did not have a charter, it was pointed. Ministry Home did not adopt it because it considered itself that it is not a public interface organization. Then many of the vision were missing, nearly 60% of reviewed charters did not have a vision. Client users had not been identified in 30%, service delivery not there in 43% of the reviewed charters. So you showed that yes, it has a symbolic presence. This will enhance 1 mark more. So you'll have to fight for that every 1 mark, every single mark, okay? Then we talk of the models, Sevottam model, ARC recommendations on how they can be improved, okay? You can use like citizen as a king, thank you attitude at workplaces, all this also can be improved. So you understood? Now let's move to the next part. So we'll go. I appeared for the entire 20 questions for you so that you can get real time. Now the question is, discuss the role that public health management cadre can play in addressing concerns faced by public health system. So what is the grand strategy of the government of the world? So we talk of sustainable development goals and national health policy first in this question, okay? And then we will be talking of what is a PHMC, how it will solve these problems, the health problems that are exist in India, okay? So the structure should be first linking the grand strategy, SDG goals and NHP, all right? Now, then what is PHMC? What are the challenges of workforce in India, okay? So what will be the challenges of this PHMC? We will talk about this. So see how we represent. This representation looks so good, see. Not because I've done it, okay? But because it should be so clean, neat and tidy and very visually appealing, which means somebody should feel like reading it. Arey kitna badhiya likha hai, theek hai? Okay? Then benefits of its creation, okay? Then challenges in its creation and suggestions on how it can be improved. Now, next question, the doctrine of pleasure, but it has been asked in a specific context. So question is asking, what do you understand by the doctrine of pleasure? Discuss the relevance of this doctrine in the context of civil services in India. Now, we had adopted doctrines within the constitution. How did they come in the constitution? Tell me. Think. So where is this question to be linked? Base kya hai? Okay? So you have to link this question first, that the making of Indian constitution did not start on a clean slate, okay? Right? And we had the historical circumstance, the political, legal, socio-economic conditions prevalent at that time, okay, which influenced the structure of the bureaucracy, the structure of the constitution, the structure of our parliamentary democracy, okay? So pick this question from that depth. Now when you pick up such questions from depth, so examiner is certainly expecting you to write directly doctrine of pleasure. But तुमने एक line of thought थोड़ा depth का दे दिया, okay? So we'll say, oh, a unique start, right? That's what make your answers unique. So we start with making of the constitution and inherited doctrines, then how this both bureaucratic model structure of civil services as well as doctrine of pleasure has been adopted from Britain. But, okay, how the concept is different in Indian context than the original concept? This is the key demand, okay, and what is the relevance in the present time? So we talk of, right, doctrine of pleasure, how it is in England, all right? What is the thing in Indian context? The Crown has the power to terminate without any notice. So in India, it's not like that, okay? Yes, they can be dismissed, but there is protection also. The grounds cannot be flimsy, arbitrary, okay? So yes, we have Article 310 and we have Article 311, which also ensures what? Protection, all right? Then Article 14, 15 of the 16 of the Constitution also protect the right of the civil servants. And then we talk about what is the view of judiciary. So State of Bihar versus Abdul Majid case. So see, we brought comparison with Britain, we brought Indian model, we brought protection within the Indian model for civil services, okay, within the Constitution, so Constitution articles. Then we also brought the view of the judiciary. So this much diversity of content, okay, and structurally done well. This enhances value, okay. अब फिर यहाँ 120 नहीं आएंगे क्या? Obviously आएंगे, ठीक है. So State of Bihar versus Abdul Majid, Jaswant Singh versus State of Punjab, Union of India versus Balbir Singh. 3 cases I have pointed, giving the view. Okay, so yes, this way. Now let's see, in this question I'll show to you how innovative diagrams can be drawn, okay. Now with the question reading, while the Election Commission of India has the power to register political parties, it cannot deregister parties, okay. Discuss the need to confer this power, okay, right, of deregistering political parties to the ECI. Now see, you need to understand how Indian democracy is operating to answer this question, okay. So what are the pillars of this Indian democracy? All right, let's see. So I'll show you how I have represented this in a diagram format. So it just gives us the spirit of the question, then we will just have to point towards the need for the same, okay. Okay, so let's see. So we have the Indian democracy. So we have the values of the Constitution, we have the laws, we have the people, the citizens who have certain sets of rights and duties, we have the political parties, and we also have the Election Commission. So all these are the actors and stakeholders involved in this particular question. In this question, now we are not moving towards branches of the government, okay, like the branches of the state, legislature, executive, judiciary, नहीं. इस context में ये stakeholders हैं, ठीक है. तो अब इनका रोल क्या है? क्वेश्चन ने क्या कहा कि इलेक्शन कमीशन के पास रजिस्ट्रेशन का पावर तो है, डी रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं करता. सो व्हाट इज द नीड दैट पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज शुड कॉन्फर दिस पावर ऑन ECI? सो व्हाट इज द नीड टू मेक ECI robust? Okay, now let's see how. So political parties, they contest elections via candidates, okay. They come to power or in opposition and they bring laws and electoral reforms. तो ये सारा जिम्मा किसके हाथ में है? पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज. जब तक ये खुद नहीं करेगी, क्या ECI डी रजिस्ट्रेशन कर पाएगा? नहीं. It is the duty of political parties to do this. So they need to confer this power. Why? Which will make ECI robust, so that ECI can be independent, it can protect provisions of the Constitution plus RPA. Okay? So you show this entire diagram, which means you have understood the spirit of the question. Karta kaun hai, तो rather than writing that it is the duty of, ये बता दो ना होता कैसे है और क्यों करना चाहिए, ठीक है. Then you say what is the need, what are the problems. That's all. Is it clear? Now let's move to the next question. So, question number 9. A key factor behind poor governance is a system of thinking and working in silos. Discuss in the context of public services in India. Okay, so problem is what? The problem they are saying in this governance, entire problem is working in silos. So we have to link silos and we have to link the working of the government. Alright, so how do we understand silo? Silo मतलब हम हर चीज़ break में कर रहे हैं, ठीक है, compartmentalized, which means internal to the governmental machinery, okay, internal to the levels. We'll I'll show you this. How the question has to be picked up. So they are saying poor governance is due to the silos approach. So you understand silos is both internally as well as externally. अब कैसे हुआ external? So देखो, internal within the government machinery मतलब across, for example, center, the ministries, the departments, okay, state, to what extent there is coordination between these two at the level of the panchayat, local government. So all are compartmentalized. External, which means government is working alone, is at every level it is associated with people or no, citizen or no. If this both don't happen together, can we expect good governance? Is governance one way road, or it's a collaborative process? So you should have, rather than everyone will restrict the question to this, only the center, ministries, departments, giving examples of various schemes and other things. No, broad silos, which means internal as well as external. So poor governance, we have to link this. So first we say, what is actually good governance? When it can happen. So I've done it very innovatively. I'll show you how. Okay? So let's see. So I pointed that it has been observed that effectiveness of the government system at various levels, okay, the center, the state, okay, at the panchayat, or we can say within the center, the ministries, the line ministries, the departments, all right, other things. So the effectiveness of government system at various levels and people's participation in the governance system are interdependent, and people's participation are interdependent, okay? So good governance is putting people at the center of development process, says Prime Minister Modi, putting people at the center of development process, okay? Then you say if 125 crore people work together, India will move forward in 125 crore steps, okay? Factors behind poor governance. So first, let's see, now we will talk of the silos approach. So implementation that happens is in silos. Technology is in silos. Okay. participation of citizens is in silos. And then we show that how, if this happens, all governance will be good. So see, I have drawn this diagram to show you this. See well. Okay, just see. So I'm saying people's participation at local level, state level, at national level. Okay? In policy formulation. So for example, people's planning in Kerala. Policy implementation, people's participation in Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. And policy review and performance evaluation, social audit law in Meghalaya. ठीक है? अब ये तो मैंने local examples दिए हैं. Okay? How in all these parameters, if this is done, how at all these levels, what will happen? Efficiency, effectiveness and excellence will be the outcome. Okay? So see, general, everybody will just write. Firstly, to understanding the concept of silos is very narrow. Then technology also in silos, implementation also in silos, participation in silos. Okay? How you broaden this, that is the art. Alright? So minimum government, maximum governance approach, sabka saath, sabka vikas. That way. Now let's go to question number 10. Very simple question. Give an account of the institutional mechanisms available to ensure accountability of civil servants. Discuss challenges in ensuring accountability. Okay? So see, what is the approach? So I spoke about how World Bank is talking of accountability as very important, okay, for good governance. All right? Right? And how it ensures efficiency across the government delivery. Then I explained the meaning of accountability. Now why it is difficult in guarding the guardians. So I gave a unique subtitle. People will write, what are the challenges in ensuring accountability? I have written it in a thoda unique format. Towing line of the question only, but just give a different title, okay, subtitle. So institutional mechanisms and issues, Lokpal, judiciary, CBI, CVC, NHRC. What are the challenges in ensuring accountability? So how they have special expertise and information, massive expansion of bureaucracy, lack of coordination between agencies, excessive immunity under various laws, okay? Employees, union, managerial action. So thus, ensuring accountability is very difficult idea. So understood how we can bring judgments, how we can bring debates, how we can bring good arguments, how we can apply the thinkers we used in political science, how we can use different innovations in the form of diagrams, how we can use case studies, models. I have emulated everything to you. Okay? Let's move. So let's begin question number 11. So till now, we were discussing the 10 markers, okay? Now I will bring in the 15 marker questions of GS and we'll see how we can apply whatever checklist we have seen today, okay? So the question is reading, self-help groups play a crucial role in providing self-employment. Second aspect is training and third aspect is social mobilization, okay? Training and social mobilization and ameliorating the standard of living of the rural people. So there are 4 dimensions: self-employment, training and social mobilization and standard of living of the rural people, okay? Now this question, many students and inevitably everybody will start with SHG. But we can start this concept of SHG with Amartya Sen's capability approach, okay? And how he talks of equality of capabilities and how capability approach ensures better development, okay? So see how uniquely this, since it is a 15 marker, it can be introduced like that. Amartya Sen argues for equality of capability approach to live a meaningful, dignified life. SHG movement has been a true embodiment of spirit of masses who can be trained and enabled for self-development. So I link this with the concept of SHGs. Development as freedom encompasses social goals, which means reduction of poverty, better education and health. So see how we broaden the theme. Then we explain what are SHGs, what is the role of SHGs across various parameters in self-employment, in training and social mobilization, okay? What are the best practices of SHG like Seva, community dispute resolution, Padman, so Nari Adalat in Gujarat and others I have given example, okay? So we can talk of the best practices, what are the challenges that they face and what measures are there to promote SHG. So this question will get that one extra mark, one because of the case studies, the models, and second because we brought a unique introduction, okay? Fine? Now, next question is the Smart Cities mission, okay, which was launched to change the urban landscape of India, has produced mixed results. Discuss. Also highlight the challenges faced in executing the mission. So students will start with Smart Cities mission, or students will start with urban development, or students can start with, you know, what has been the aim behind the Smart Cities mission. So I have started with talking of key significance of urban development in India's growth story with facts, and then Smart Cities mission has come in this light. And so see how it has been depicted. Urban Indians constitute 1/3 of population, ठीक है, and produce more than 3/5 of country's GDP. So planned urbanization is going to shape the trajectory of India's development. So Smart Cities mission for 100 cities and towns of India, what are the features, what are the aims, okay, and how it wants to make cities more livable, more inclusive, more sustainable, all that we have added. Now in this question is saying mixed results. So without giving performance analysis, mixed results cannot happen. You have to give key performance analysis, okay. So performance analysis, what are the national level tenders, state level tenders, how much %, to what extent completion of projects has happened, how is the project implementation at what stage. You have to draw this for every flagship project of the government, okay, because if a specific question comes without performance analysis nahi hoga, and government is finishing 10 years, so this kind of questions are natural, okay. Now then challenges in execution. So similarly, like we have pointed, management challenges, financial challenges, technological challenges, okay, and what suggestions are there to improve this way. Now let's bring out the next. So question is on Aadhaar and amendments and linking Aadhaar with electoral roll, okay. So bring out the recent amendments introduced in the Election Laws Amendment Act 2021. Discuss various concerns associated with linking of Aadhaar with electoral roll data. Now see, this question is not only about the factual provisions of the amendment. Obviously you have to know, but you have to know the issues associated with those and also the benefits of those, okay. And then you have to say overall in a broader way to what extent linking Aadhaar with electoral data is good or bad. Only factual provision से आंसर ख़त्म नहीं होगा, और आधार एज अ थीम कि क्या आर्ग्यूमेंट्स है, क्या फॉर है, क्या अगेंस्ट है, ओके. सो आई हैव स्पोकन अबाउट since Aadhaar is a technological tool that way, okay, and linking electoral data, these are the technological precursors and ways of doing good governance. So I have said how technology has become a vital tool for ensuring good governance in a social welfare state like India. Aadhaar has become such a tool of unifying various schemes, programs and benefits to the citizens. Okay? It enabled the state to fulfill socio-economic rights of the citizens, creating seamless connectivity on one hand, and also raised the debates of becoming a surveillance state on the other. So you have shown both sides of the coin. What is the key debate with Aadhaar? So one side social welfare, one side surveillance state. Okay, so till today it is hard to ensure this balance. Then how the Law Commission recommended to unifying this electoral roll? So you talk of the provisions, you talk of the issues and the benefit of the provision. Similarly, second provision also issues and benefits. Okay. Now, then we will say arguments for Aadhaar linkage and arguments against Aadhaar linkage. Okay. This is how a debate has to be created. अब यहाँ पे सिर्फ इलेक्टोरल रोल डाटा जितना नहीं लिखना है क्वेश्चन, ठीक है. Now, ठीक है. Now let's move to the next question. Very conventional question in UPSC, okay, but students find this also very difficult to answer. Now, it has been argued that one of the characteristic features of the civil services, okay, in India is bureaucratic indecision and risk aversion. See, you all have a key problem. जो question बोलता है, you just blindly write that. No. You have to oppose. You don't have to only say there is problems in civil services. You also say there are achievements. They've done good things. They've taken risk, good projects, good schemes across the world, reverence for CAG. So don't talk that yes, there is bureaucratic indecision, risk aversion. Okay, we have to, and you have to then suggest reforms. Okay? So this question talks of both. So first we will talk of significance of civil services in this question, how India has inherited such kind of a structure, what are the problems in the structure and the work culture, okay? Then what it should be like ideally, then reforms. So bringing accountability, emphasis on performance and not on seniority, okay? Selection procedure, what reforms? And then you say yes, it has achievements, okay? So also talk about the achievements. Now let's come to the next question. Do you agree with the view that one nation, one election is an idea whose time has come? Justify with suitable arguments. So this question, are we going to start with simultaneous election or benefit of simultaneous election, or Prime Minister spoke of this simultaneous election, what? So first we will be talking of significance of elections in a democracy, okay? Then we will be talking of the idea of simultaneous elections. Then the need for it, the challenges and strategies that can be followed, alternative things, and conclusion. So the idea of one nation or one election or simultaneous, okay, are lifeblood of democracy, right? PSC committee has spoken of this also. Then we talk of the need for governance, need for legislative working in a better way, need for the problem of economic burden that exists, okay? And then what are the challenges? Institutional, constitutional imperatives, political realities, role of elections, logistical issues. So you subhead it very well, okay? It looks structured. Fine. So we'll move on to the next set now. Okay. So question number 16, alternative dispute resolution mechanism, though successful in parts, have failed to take off on a large scale in India. Also suggest measures that can. So here also you will be talking of the judicial delays and problems, give facts, key facts, and then you will be moving on to how alternative dispute resolution, what are the benefits of this dispute resolution, still what are the challenges, and then way forward. Okay? So yes, what did the Chief Justice of India say? He stressed the need for increasing use of ADR mechanisms to change the judicial landscape. Supreme Court has recognized that access to justice is a basic human right. So yes, judicial burdening has increased because of backlog of cases. How ADR will help this? Okay? So provisions of ADR, what is the success of ADR? What are the features of this success, what we have seen? What are the limitations of the ADR? Okay? Now, and suggestions. So very simple question. So question is Representation of People Act, question number 17. While the Representation of the People Act places limitations on election funding, there is rampant misuse of money power in election campaigns. In this context, discuss the reforms required in election funding in India. So see, now before moving on the RPA provisions, before addressing, let's discuss how this is a key problem facing the Indian democracy. Okay? And then we will be talking. So first here, we say that Indian body politic is plagued by the corruption problem. Political funding is a key mode of unaccounted black money generation and utilization. It is a disease which is a self-destructive and immune to antibiotics. It is a termite to the citadel of democracy. See, now there is a little flowery language here, but I wanted to show to you that how good articulation creates a very positive impact, right? So I have spoken of the disease, I have spoken of how it is, breaking the entire body of the democracy, okay, and how this problem needs to be rooted out, how it has become very resilient a problem, okay, until we really bring in the right measures, this resilience that black money generation has for itself is becoming difficult to counter. Okay? So flowery, not necessary everybody has to use it, but it is a way of representing any gravity of a problem. Okay? So unique way of doing it, you want to do it that way? Okay. Then you talk of what are the limits that are existing, what are the recent amendments that have been brought, but still how, despite limit, why there is rampant misuse of money. Okay? And how this needs to be tackled. What are the reforms needed? Okay, so I have divided the reforms in short-term measures as well as long-term measures. So whenever you are writing measures also, you can divide them in short-term and long-term. Okay? So I have given models also in US, Bhutan, Germany. So these are good examples of good practices that are happening. Now question, there are arguments that the current first past the post electoral system must be replaced by proportional representation in India. Critically evaluate. See, it's a very common question, okay? First you need to understand both the systems very well. What are the issues with the system? What defects it corrects? What are the benefits? Okay? Then only you will be able to write this answer. Very clear understanding of the electoral system is required. So I have first spoken of what is an electoral system. Okay? Then what are the features, advantages and limitations of FPTP. What are the features, advantages and limitations of FPTP? Okay. Then what is the proportional representation system? What are its features? What are its advantages and what are its disadvantages? Now whether the need for shift in India is there or no. So structurally all components of the question has been addressed. And then I have given a way forward with Germany model. Okay. So yes, eventually wide political consensus has to be there for the same. Okay. Now let's discuss question number 20. Freebies, especially ahead of elections, do more harm than good to the society. Do you agree? See, now what is this whole concept of freebies, elections? Why elections are there? So one is to occupy power, one is to do social welfare after the occupation of power. So we say that power has become the key end goal of elections. Okay? And competitive politics and populism are leading to measures in the form of freebies. On the other hand, we also have social welfare, which is as a measure very important for a country like India, which is facing multiple challenges. Okay? So I have distinguished between the idea of welfarism and freebies culture. Then I have defined freebies, and it is the RBI definition. It gives more validity to how I explain. Okay? Arguments for freebies, arguments against freebies, and conclusion. So first, see how to introduce the competitive politics and goal to occupy position of power by any means has led to the culture of freebies in India, especially ahead of elections. Though welfarism is as old as human civilization, the populism that is emerging in the name of this welfare, engraved in freebies, cannot be compared with the social welfare measures, okay, adopted by any government after coming to power. So the problem is social welfare is done after coming to power, and the immediate prior to temporary arrangements that are coming in the form of freebies is problematic. Okay. So first, thus key debates arise by comparing freebies vis-a-vis social welfare schemes. Then we talk about the definition of freebies, what are the arguments in favor of this freebie, arguments against use of freebies and the issues arising out of it. So how it impacts democracy, how it impacts economy, how it impacts welfare, how it leads to unethical practice. So judicious and sensible offering or of freebies or subsidies that can be easily accommodated, do not do much harm and can be leveraged. However, it is essential to distinguish between subsidy and freebies. Okay? So how it can have long-term effects. So I hope you have understood different ways of how we can use political science, understanding of elections, political parties, democracy, social justice, public welfare, governance, okay? How all of this understanding of depth, how it can be brought in your intros, in your conclusions, and how you can innovatively use judgments, example, cases, models, best practices, okay? This will certainly enhance your marks in paper 2. Thank you so much. All the very best. Do well. You can post all your questions regarding this session in the comment box and I will reply back, okay? Thank you. All the best.